Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Bellmakers podcast with yours truly, Ryan McDonald.
Tie press.
This is another episode of the House of the Dragons recap and review. Episode 4, The Red Dragon and the Gold. I saw, I think when I was looking at the writer and the director for the first episode, I saw this one's supposed to be called The Dance of the Dragons. I
Mm-hmm.
think this whole season is kind of just supposed to be that, from what I've
Yeah.
seen from book readers. So I kind of like the fact that they just named it after this. And I think, because I know when I first watched the episode when it came out, there wasn't a title for it. You had to click in the details. So I think they kind of hid that so that we didn't know, even though I might have gotten it spoiled for me. But directed by Alan Taylor, written by Ryan Condal. First scene we go into, we get Damon in another nightmare or vision. I don't know what we're calling these, but sees a young Rhaenyra speaking High Valyrian, and like I don't know because like we've seen them speak to like this is what we saw a lot in the first season, like them speaking to each other in High Valyrian, kind of like their own like, even though it's not a secret language to just those two, it's kind of like their own like little like chemistry that they could speak to each other in like a big room full of people, as we see like Aegon and Aemon later. Um, but like I some of these, I guess I mean we also see it later, but like I don't. It's kind of hard to tell what like these visions or nightmares are because he ends up like she says, "You created me, Damon. Yet you are now set on destroying me, all because your brother loved me more than he did you."
Yeah.
Like
And
I
then
think some of this is like his regret with how he dealt with like how he's been dealing with things and like how he maybe dealt with like their last conversation and argument.
right. I could definitely see that. And he like I think after he decapitates her like right after that, correct?
Yeah, yeah, that yeah.
Yeah, and he like kind of has this like realization moment. He's like, damn, like I was able to do this to her, like this, like he like kind of was in like shock or awe that he went through with. I mean, yeah, it's all in a dream, but the fact that he could do it.
Well, it's like I think by now he's kind of figured out that like it's not real because like
Yeah.
I don't think he would actually like cut her head off in real like life.
No, but still to have that like thought and
Yeah.
action in your head, he kind
Well,
of like
that's where like it's like is he doing that as like an idea to like stop the visions, or
right,
maybe like to stop his own thoughts of like why am I like thinking about this stuff?
right.
But then her head continues to speak, and he's like, "Is this is what you always wanted? Is it not?" And then she says, "There's been a raven that's mixed with like Simon Strong's voice," and Damon wakes up, but he like wakes up with like blood on his hands, basically like her like blood from her getting her head chopped off, but it disappears.
Mm-hmm.
That's also part of the vision. He gets the update on Kristen Cole's tour through, I guess like the shoreline, and they take down a few castles. And his army's now tripled in strength. So
Mm-hmm.
he's Kristen Cole's gotten all these men on his side, and he's still sitting at Harrenhal, sleeping and having visions and nightmares, and
Yeah,
done nothing.
he's still in Luigi's mansion.
Yeah, that's those memes have been pretty funny. But uh, they think Harrenhal is gonna be next, and then we get another Sesame Street character, Lord Oscar Tully, for
mm-hmm.
coming in place of his grandsire, Lord Grover Tully. So just all the Muppets or all the Sesame Street gang. And I thought it was kind of funny that like as soon as like that kid like gets up and then Damon just like takes his seat and then the kid's like, wait, where do I sit now?
Yeah,
But it clearly he's not like happy. Like he's like, oh why don't you just like kill your grandfather so we can just speed this process up of getting an inheritance so like I can actually like talk to the person in charge.
does he say it can't like why don't you take a pillow to your grandfather's face? Like,
Yeah,
he says something about
he's like
suffocating him.
he's like take like take like a feather pillow to your like grandfather or whatever and speed this process up.
Yeah,
Which I get from his side, like he's like, all right, well, you're not someone that can do what I want. Like I want someone that can like tell their banners to like, hey, get your armies, go to Harrenhal. We're like getting ready for battle. Like just like this kid, he's like, all right, what are you gonna do? You gonna go back and I'm gonna have to wait like a couple weeks again or a couple days for to hear a response back and go back and forth.
yeah.
It's like I need to be talking to the person in charge that can just send ravens out right now and do it.
Well, like you need to have somebody in charge that can move
Yeah,
along and
yeah,
process it. Like we like you said, I think he just the his name is Oscar said something on the lines of like, oh yeah, like he's able to drink the milk of the poppy by himself. He's like he's able the most basic thing, and Damon's like that means nothing to me. Like
Yeah,
can you just kill this guy finally so that me and you can actually like we can go about like we like running households and
yeah.
shit? Like, can we do this the right way and not have to
Well, it's like some
deal
like
with this
this,
old man?
some of this like stuff's dumb. Like in this sense, like it shouldn't like you shouldn't have to die for it to pass on. Like that old guy should just be like, all right, clearly I'm not like
Right.
fit enough to be in charge. Even if it's like not like the young kid, like, all right, like let me place like my like nephew or whatever in charge until my grandson gets of age to like be in charge. Like let's at
Yeah.
least put like some person or whatever, and then Damon basically after that he's like, all right, he like I want the Blackwoods, send the Blackwoods up here because they're gonna be the ones like charging this army because clearly you guys are. I think he calls them a fish without a head, which I
Hmm.
thought was pretty good. But like he's like, all right, give me like they're clearly a men of action. Send them up here and they're gonna be the ones to man my army.
Right.
Let me get Rhaenyra or Rhaenys at the Stepstones. Walks up to the ship and it's his at least our first encounter of her seeing Alan. And I think it's pretty cool that she realizes that there's um,
Bastards.
resemblances of Corliss,
Right.
and like she basically like, says he's like handsome, like oh like your mother must have clearly been beautiful, and I don't know if that like was like a dig at Corliss, like oh like Corliss isn't good looking enough to make a handsome son or whatever, but like I like their conversation where like I mean there's probably some tension there where like I don't think this is her first time knowing that he's had bastards, but
I
it's
mean,
like
if it is, she handled it
yeah
remarkably well.
if it's her first time knowing for sure, but like she at least probably had to have had like some sort of like thought that they had some. But she's like let me see, like she just like wants like oh like don't like hide him beneath the tides, like honor him, like he saved you, like I think it's
Oh
also
yeah.
kind of like it's like we don't have any sons left in our house, like these are true like these are born sons to you, honor them and bring them up. And I know, I think it was last week we talked about, or at least I mentioned, that I thought like Alan or Adam were going to be like one of the riders of one of the dragons, but then I've realized that the only like the Targaryens are technically the only true dragon riders. So you have to have Targaryen blood to be a dragon rider. So that kind of takes that uh, possibility out, unless this show just goes completely away from that.
Is that true? I thought of it like old, like if you were Valyrian, you could as well.
Well,
You
it's
couldn't.
most of the Valyrian households were dragon riders, but the Valerians weren't.
Okay. But I
That's like
think if
because
you
like
have the blood of old Valyria, you can be a dragon rider.
no, I think I've seen it. It's like you need to have like dragon rider blood in you, and like that's why like their daughters can and like their sons can because they have Rhaenys's blood in them.
Right.
But I don't think like Vaemon like Corlys's like brother like wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
And I kind of wonder like how like long that is supposed to like last for because like I know like the Baratheons in Game of Thrones are supposedly like descended from a lot like someone in the Targaryen family, so I don't know how long that lasts for. But
Yeah. I mean, you don't even know like Corlys's parents. One of them could have been a
yeah,
Targaryen.
yeah, what's yeah, like yeah, I guess that's true. But
If Valerians and Targaryens have been breeding with each other, it could easily be that Corlys, the Corlys's dad, was a
yeah,
Valyrian married to a like just like he is.
I mean Targs has been breeding with themselves, which is funny.
That's
But
true. But I think they purposely do them and
yeah,
Valyrians.
yeah,
Valerians,
it
whatever.
does kind of suck that like we know they have to end at some point because we don't see them in Game of Thrones because they, I mean, it's just like like the people with white hair are kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I hear you saying.
But then we go back.
Little side note, a little side note too. I should have addressed this off the rip, but I'm on vacation. I think we
Oh
discussed that
yes,
this was gonna happen last week. But yeah, that's why I'm recording off my phone in our like beach house room. But just to clear, I'm also notably Tanner. If you haven't
yeah, it
noticed.
had to yeah, I had to put that in there.
But yeah, just to clear things up, why I'm not at my normal setup.
Yeah, I used a
All
little.
right.
I used well, not too much sunblock, but I wish I would use a little bit less sunblock to get a little more sun. But I was afraid of being outside for 4 straight days, getting
Yeah.
burnt. But so I mean, after
God.
that we go back to King's Landing, and the Maester comes in Allison's room with Plan T, and
Mm-hmm.
done secretly, and like he's kind of like, oh, like hey, tell the girl like it might not fit with her stomach, so make sure someone's like watching. And she's like, oh yeah, yeah, I'll make sure that happens. Like, I feel like he kind of has like some idea that like it's for her, and it's just like,
Yeah.
hey, like I just like tell your friend that like it like this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Pass
and
this message along to
yeah,
the person.
and it's so just like it's I mean hypocritical again. Like she got mad at Rhaenyra for like the fact that she took this earlier on, and this is like why they like their whole feud started.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Allison asks him like, oh, if he believes like Viserys actually did want Aegon to become king, and then the Maester says, oh, King Viserys never spoke to me about these matters, like just kind of evading the question. And I think we're just seeing more Allison now, like being like, oh, I actually like Rhaenyra was probably right, like Viserys
Yeah.
definitely did not mean Aegon, like he didn't teach him up to be in that spot. There's no way he would have changed his mind in the right like mind frame.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's clear to pretty much everyone, and she discusses it with Aegon himself later on that like
Oh yeah.
he is not
She just
a
ruins
true
him at
king.
that later on.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely
so
destroys him.
funny.
But like, it's clear to everybody that Aegon is not like a king that needs to lead. He just is the face.
Yeah, but yeah. And we go to the Black Council. Uh, no Rhaenyra still. I mean, she ends up coming in, but like or no, she comes in later. But the older men are just getting ripping apart like Jace and uh Baela, and Jace is getting upset, like being like, oh, like no, like we wouldn't have known about Cole if Baela wasn't there, because they're like, oh, Baela should have just burned him right there. And
Mm-hmm.
then finally Rhaenys actually steps in, because I feel like we haven't seen Rhaenys actually talk that much at council. She just kind of watches Rhaenyra just have to fight off all these old dudes.
Mm-hmm.
We did finally get some of the names though. I think the one guy's name's Alfred. But then like finally like Alfred's going off, and then Lord Cooler steps in and goes like oh like what's going on here? Like it's like oh like they finally respect a man coming in. It's like oh you couldn't have just respected Rhaenyra or Rhaenys this whole time.
Right.
Like you're fighting for a woman to be queen, and yet now when a guy steps in and gets all angry, like you're like, oh, like now hush up.
Yeah. They get put in their place by the first
Yeah,
guy that comes in. That's
yeah.
not a kid.
But like Rhaenys is still kind of backing Rhaenyra, like oh, like she's been seeking out the whole thing we've all wanted this whole time, like a peaceful end to this. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know what she's doing, but she's doing something that we all would agree with. Like just let her go.
Right.
Um, and then we get the ends of the battle. We're on the shores. A bunch of men are dead. We find out they're House Darkland bannermen. And then Cole kind of gives out that typical phrase, bend the knee or die.
Mm-hmm.
Lord Darkland does not, and gives him a couple like, oh, like, you're not fit to wear the white cloak. Calls him the Kingmaker, which I like. Even like, he doesn't know how unfit Cole is to wear that cloak, but he's so right with that comment. Like he doesn't know how much stuff he's done, how many like
Yeah.
impurities he's done with that cloak, and it definitely strikes a chord with him. And I don't know about you, but like his Cole's swing looked like
It was like a.
yeah, like he like I meant to go back and watch like the first episode of Game of Thrones, because I feel like Ned when he did his just went all arms and just ripped ice, which is supposed like would be a much heavier sword to
Oh,
swing.
so much heavier than
Like
like that was a human sized
yeah, it was a
Valyrian
long sword.
blade.
Yeah, it was a long sword. I mean,
Yeah.
I get Cole's wearing like a bunch of armor, but I kind of
No, it
chuckled at
was
that
an.
to being like, oh, like you're like a child basically. Like you have to use all your force into it.
It's funny you said that. I do remember like taking note of being like that was like a bitch ass looking
Yeah.
swing. Like that didn't look clean at all.
But then like right after he does that, all the men just like bend the knee. They're like, all right, like
Mm.
our lord's done. We're not gonna all die.
Yeah.
But it is like it's kind of different because like I feel like some of the scenes we saw that happen with like at least in Game of Thrones were like people like it was like Daenerys with like a dragon. Like oh like she burnt the first two guys. Everyone's like oh I don't want to get burned by a dragon. Like I'll bend the knee. This is like one of
Yeah.
the first ones
Tullys,
we've
right?
huh
They're the Tullys.
yeah. This is like one of the first ones we've seen of them like a man just like chop someone's head off and do it. But then
Mm-hmm.
Cole gets a raven given to him by like a little squire, I guess. And he's like, all right, we're gonna march northeast. And then Sir Gawain's like, northeast. You, your directions are a little wrong. Like Harrenhal's west.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make sense. and I did find a really good map of Westeros because I've kind of been looking at some of those, just trying to figure out like where we are all the time.
Yeah.
And this one gave like a bunch of like all the houses and stuff like that. But yeah, basically like, Harrenhal's like, so like if them this is gonna be weird. So like if you're going with like your hand, like your left hand with a C, Harrenhal's like way more like left, like past like in like the open space over here, and like
Okay.
Rook's Rest I think is basically just like up the coastline more by like your like knuckles.
Okay.
So it's like oh yeah, you're if you're following the coastline, you're going nowhere near.
Mhm.
But then we kind of find out that one of the people on Rhaenyra's council is, I guess, like his father's the Lord of Rook's Rest, or like
Yeah.
whatever. I think Alfred is the family of that. So it's like one it would like I think basically the whole idea, which we find out later, is to draw out a dragon. Like go somewhere to force out a dragon,
Mhm.
which is also kind of like I think they're also scared of Daemon. Like they know because I mean like we could do like a power ranking of like going into this episode. Like how would you power rank the dragons and dragon riders?
Um, it's tough. So Vagar is the biggest threat. Um,
But like I
it's
almost
like
think like
it's
Daemon with
Vagar,
I almost like
Melees, and Caraxes are like the three are going to be the three
but
strongest
like
dragons
I
that
almost
we
think
have riders for.
I almost think Daemon and Caraxes would be one just because they've actually had. I mean, Vagar has a ton of battle experience, but Daemon as a dragon rider has probably
Yeah,
the most.
yeah. I mean, remaining now,
So like,
yeah.
I think he would be like the most formidable opponent, and
Mm-hmm.
then just Aemon and Vagar just because of
Vagar
Vagar's,
size.
and then
See, but like we
Melee's.
say that, but like
May
Rhaenys and Melees were winning the battle of
yes,
Vagar, and Vagar had to sneak attack Melees because Melees was ripping her apart.
and it almost makes it more annoying because like watching that battle, like what Damon said earlier on, being like, oh, like me and you, let's ride out, let's go, like we can take Vagar down together.
Yeah,
Almost makes it more true. It's like, oh yeah, like if those two rode out and just challenged Vagar, like two
they
v
would have
one,
destroyed her.
they would have destroyed her, and all of this would have been done. Like
Yeah,
I
no,
we
I
know
think it would have been easy too.
at that moment, like Rainier wasn't there, and like they were trying to still hope for peace, but like at like those two on Vagar, even like if it was like a 2v2 with like Vagar and Sunfire, they would have won.
Yeah,
Like,
I
because like, I
agree.
think like you could easily
Sunfire had no business being out there.
no Sunfire got wrecked immediately,
Yeah.
which like we'll get into that later, but
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
We're never allowed to talk about the fight.
So then we'll go to Aegon at his council. He is just very mad that Daemon took Harrenhal, and then they're all kind of like gives a shot at Lord Larys. Like, are you not upset that your whole castle got taken by the enemy? And he's like, oh, it's more crippled than I am.
Yeah, which is a funny line. I like
Yeah,
that.
and apparently he controls all the gold, which I don't really understand. Like, how does like my thought is the gold is at like one of the like the banks like in Essos,
Yeah.
and he's like the like he has like the debit card for it or whatever you want to like would want to say. Because like I don't know
Yeah.
how you can say you control the gold if you don't control the castle.
And the whole family, and like it's Liege Lord doesn't recognize you or like
Yeah,
denounces you. So yeah, I'm not sure how that works
yeah,
either. Maybe
but
they
like
do all have credit cards.
yeah, swipe. Uh, but like it's also it's just been I think this was uh yeah like they like Aegon just keeps getting mad he's not getting informed on things and Aemon speaks up and goes like oh like Kristen Cole's gonna march on Rook's Rest not Harrenhal and like Aegon's like what why is that the plan that's not the place to go that's not where I want to go
Yeah.
and then we get their little conversation on High Valyrian which I think a lot of like I don't think anyone else at the council understands Valyrian. I think they
Mm.
could just kind of read the vibes and like they're just like watching the conversation go back and forth, which it's mainly just a one-sided
Amen.
conversation.
Yeah.
Um, and a couple of things I had like written down was like Aemon says you had more pressing matters to attend to, and this is like a shot about Aegon like going into like that pleasure like place like with his like buddies and just getting drunk like oh like yeah you had more pressing things to like to deal with. And then
Hmm.
he also says like one of these like one of the pressing matters was like choosing your sobriquet, which I saw it means nickname. So I think it means like he was more worried about like making his nickname with his buddies like when they're like drunk on the throne
Hmm.
while his kid was getting killed. It's
Right.
like, oh, like you're more worried about that than like protecting your family. And then
Yeah.
Aegon's response is, let me see if I can find it. It is like a first grader's level response. I can have to make a war.
Oh,
Like
I see. I
this,
didn't even like. I
this
was getting a
kid,
lot of memes of him like not understanding
yeah,
any of it. I didn't realize that he actually just didn't say anything properly.
yeah. His sentence was not an actual good sentence. Like, and then like Eamon just kind of like almost like I think they in the captions it was just like like HMMM, but like I
Yeah.
think he's clearly like yeah you're an idiot. This is why I'm not telling you these things. But it's just like it's and like Aegon just is getting like put like just getting in like emasculated, and then
Yeah.
like Aemon's like oh like if you have any better ideas please like share them, and then he just sits down and lets Aemon speak. He's like oh
Mm,
I'm beat. I don't have any better ideas.
right.
Um, and we get Allison in her room after she drank the tea, which she leaves just out in the open, which is dumb. Like you're trying to
Right.
make a secret and you're just leaving the open thing out. She makes a little warm sack for her stomach to help digestion. Laris walks in, uh, just kind of tells her like what was talked about the council. Asks like, oh, like why weren't you there? And then she says, like, oh, I ate pie the night before and I couldn't go. And then
Hmm.
I think he notices the cup and kind of like is like, oh, that is a rich indulgence, but I believe it is a sin to deny your appetites. They are what make us fully alive as mortal men. Kind of being like, you're not like
I'm not gonna judge you here.
yeah, which is like
Yeah.
another thing is like the women get judged way harder for like affairs or like non-marital sex than the men do. Like
Hmm.
kings and lords and whatever can have bastards and like they are welcome to be like openly shown, but a woman has one and they're called a whore.
Yeah. You can't be doing that.
Yeah,
Keep that shit to yourself.
it's not fair.
Yeah.
Feminism in Westeros.
There was absolutely no feminism in Westeros.
Uh, but like she has a bunch of books thrown around the room. He brings that up, and he's like, "Oh, like, do you share the same love for history as your late husband?" And I think she's kind of just searching for like the Song of Ice and Fire that Rhaenyra mentioned. Like, oh, it's got to be one of these books that Daenerys read. Not because
Yeah.
like Rhaenyra never mentioned it was on like the dagger.
No.
So I think she's kind of looking for a way to find it. Um, yeah, I mean, there's really not much else there. I mean, Laris kind of mentions that like oh, like she should be especially afraid for Cole, and like she's like, oh, he's the Lord Hand, everyone should be afraid. Like he's
Hmm.
pushing at the idea that like, oh, like they're the like he's the reason why she drank the tea, whatever. He says, like, oh, you're not been yourself. She's like, oh, I've also lost my husband a few weeks ago or like a month ago, and I've had a grandson die. I think it's kind of right that
Yeah.
I'm not myself. Uh,
Which really put into perspective of like how quick all this shit's going down.
but like it's because like there's another like it's the timeline is so weird because like she says a couple weeks and then someone said like someone says later on like Cole's been at this for like a fortnight, which is like
Just a
four
whole week,
weeks.
isn't it?
It's like no, fortnight's like 4 weeks.
Oh.
So like
And
that would
didn't
have
they say?
like that would have happened way after Viserys died. So like I don't know if she's just like her saying a few weeks ago is like 10 weeks.
Hmm.
Like it's kind of hard to track. I mean, we know it's all
And I
within the matter of a couple of months. It's not that big of a
I
deal,
said
but
this too. I think it's like on the first episode, they did something similar where like they were saying that like Rhaenyra was like grieving for like weeks or so. Like it wasn't with her kids, wasn't like
yeah.
was alone,
Yes.
vulnerable in Dragonstone for a long time period, and then like it was like she was mourning Lucerys' death, and then like I don't know if it's the same episode or like were hinted at like all this was happened in like 5 days. We're like
Yeah.
I thought she was grieving.
Oh, go back. All right. You thought she was grieving for?
For like 10 like I
Yeah.
like she like they are doing some weird stuff with the timeline but like it's
Like I don't know if
uh,
that's like partially on purpose, like just like oh like it's so chaotic that everyone's kind of just like forgetting about how long it's been or whatever.
yeah.
And even like Game of Thrones sometimes wasn't the best at like the timeline, but like oh like you rode from Winterfell to King's Landing. Like, how long has that been? Like, are
Yeah.
we talking like, is this been like couple weeks, couple days, what? Like,
Well, like, yeah, if to go to Game of Thrones, in the first season they would have like half of a season people traveling
yeah,
from Winterfell to
yeah,
Winterfell to
King's
King's
Landing.
Landing. But like, yeah, that was one of the complaints about the final seasons is they had to squeeze so much into it. They would like travel from like Dragonstone, Winterfell, and like it would be in one
Yeah,
episode they would do
or
it.
like
So it's like,
Arya like traveling from like Essos to all the way to like Winterfell. It's like that should have taken like a long time compared to everything
yeah,
else. Um, but then we go back to Harrenhal in another Daemon nightmare.
oh Jesus,
This is once again he looks scared shitless in his bed as people are walking by.
yeah, it was like,
But
no,
he
I remember,
goes follows what it. I mean I'm sure you probably got the same idea. It looked like Aemon. Follows him. It kind of walk like him. Like it's a good job. And then he turns around and it's himself, Daemon, with an eye patch.
yeah, like
And like
dressed
I've
as
seen some
Aemon.
there's it's like, wait, does he just forget what Aemon looks like?
I, I
So
saw that
they
too.
just shows him.
He's thinking about Aemon, but he can't remember what he looks like, so he
Yeah.
just puts an eye patch on himself.
I
Yeah, no,
I
I
think
saw
it's
that.
more like that he sees himself in Aemon, like he sees like the similarities and he's kind of like
Yeah, I
putting
I
it
could
that
see
way.
that as well. And
But
like
then we
Aemon is aspiring to be a young Daemon.
yeah, because it's like it's almost like the
God, dude, I
same,
can't
especially
figure
like
out which
now, like
tree.
that Jaehaerys died. Like it's like almost like the same scenario where like there's no true heir. You have like a yes, you have a daughter, but like your brother would technically be the next one. And I mean, Viserys was a good king, a smart guy. Aemon's a very dumb guy, but
Yeah,
like Aemon is much closer to Daemon than like I guess is let on, but like because he's like stronger, more fearful, and like more tactical, and like wants to fight.
right.
Um, but we meet Alice Rivers as Daemon finally like catches up to him, and she's a woods witch, is
Yeah,
what she calls herself. And I saw apparently in the books it said that she's been the woods witch of Harrenhal for hundreds of years.
yeah,
So that's I don't know if we're gonna get that in the show, but that's I guess that because apparently the Maester ran off and she became like the whatever, like she's the witch, but she became like the Maester for the house.
mhm.
She had an Irish accent, which I don't think we've gotten an Irish accent in Game of Thrones yet. Thought that was a little bit different. But she's like already brewing a potion that she ends up giving Daemon at the end of this. So it's
Right.
like, I mean, like if you're a witch that's hundreds of years old, she might sort of somehow know what is fucking Daemon up, and like, oh, he's clearly can't sleep. But like talks to him and like says like, oh, like you come here after quarreling with your wife, and she knows this because like, he's been getting a bunch of ravens and sent none out. Which finally we get the answer of like, why are they not communicating back and forth? Like they're
Mhm.
trying to get him to answer, and he just won't. Which I think some of that's like guilt, some of that's like pride. Like he's like, I'm gonna do this quickly and efficiently, and then come back.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's him trying to make a play for himself.
No, I don't think so either. I do think it's funny though. I think in the episode prior to this, he didn't trust the Lord Strong's peas because he was afraid they're
Mm.
gonna be poisoned. Yeah,
Yep.
he drank a potion from a woods witch
Yep.
with like no
Yep.
second thought, really.
Yep. I thought that was weird too. And like he takes a sip of that and then wakes up to taking a sip of like wine. And we get Sir William Blackwood and Simon Strong at the table and like some other random guys at Harrenhal. They're not important. They don't speak. And he's like, who are you? And he's like, they're all like, we've been sitting here for three
Yeah,
minutes. Like, this is the Blackwood you said you wanted to see. And he's like,
yeah,
yeah. But we do find out. I think we already mentioned this kind of, but this is the Blackwood that murdered the Bracken, trying to get Rhaenyra's hand in
yes,
marriage. And he looks like a cool guy. And like, I think it's kind of funny that we get like the parallels of like this guy got rejected by Rhaenyra and still says like, oh, like I went for her hand because I saw she had like, and she has clearly like the strength or like the passion or
the
spirit of like a
yeah
true
spirit.
dragon. Meanwhile, we get
Yep.
Kristen Cole who got denied marriage with her and just he goes, oh, yeah, she's a whore. What a
Yeah,
bitch.
the whore of
Yeah,
Dragonstone. She's conniving web.
yeah.
Like yeah,
One
she's
dude took like the rejection very well and still loves her, and another dude
hmm
was like, oh, fuck that bitch.
yeah.
So two very different sides of the stone.
Cole's a sim. It's
Yeah,
plain and
yeah,
simple.
very very much a simp. But then like he's like he's backing his father's or yeah, his late. I think he says late lord. I don't know. I can't be his father because Benji is the would be like the one to inherit the lordship, but he's
Uh-huh.
too young apparently, so he's the acting lord. But he says like, "Oh, my late lord bent the knee to Viserys and acknowledged Rhaenyra for her heir. I plan to back that." But he wants, in order to give Daemon like support, he wants Daemon to go take a dragon to the Brackens and give the Queen's justice.
Yeah.
So I mean that'd be kind of like I mean anything dragons I'm down for,
Right. Me too.
especially because the Brackens so far I mean we've seen like three cool like Blackwood characters and no cool Brackens. But
Yeah, the Brackens all have seen like the one in the first episode of the first season where he was meeting for Rhaenyra's hand. He was like a just like a prissy,
yeah,
I like unlikable guy really. And then even like the square off between the young guys, like the one was like he like oh like can you even lift the sword and he
oh
just
yeah,
wasn't confident in any of his movements. Like he just didn't look like you said. There hasn't been really a Bracken that's been likable
yeah.
really.
But then we get Damon's like still like having weird visions as he like I forget. Do you remember what his wife's name was? I wrote it down as Balin, but like I or but I don't think that's fully correct.
Baylor,
No, like her like his like the Valyrian wife he had.
yeah, I
But
don't have it on top of my head. No.
either way, like the wine pour comes around and he like it shows up to him as her,
Mhm.
which it's like he's just like going just getting more visions of his past that he probably regrets. I think it's kind of mostly what it is he's just getting so many visions of his past that he regrets like his decisions and he's like
Mhm.
kind of like he's I mean for being as old as he is, he's maturing,
Right.
which is like one of the reasons I think like this mission for him is very important. But
Yeah, he needed a little haunting.
yeah, Simon Strong kind of like looks at him like weird the whole time, like why the fuck are you staring at her?
Yeah.
Which gets no answer for, but who cares? Um, go back to the Green Council. Aegon's just spinning his ball. He's bored out of his mind, which he tells the council. He ends up leaving, but he just goes, like you guys bore me. I'm out.
Mhm.
Uh, we hear again that Cole is being called the Kingmaker. That's about all that matters from that. But then we get he's going back to Allison or his room. Allison's in there looking for the books. Goes like, oh, like what'd you do with your father's books? He goes, I removed them. She gets all upset, like, why would you remove them? Like, you're like, what are you doing? He's like, I didn't burn them. I removed them.
Yeah.
Like, kind of being like, oh, like I'm not that stupid. I wouldn't like get rid of
Yeah.
these like, history books.
She's like, those were very important like documents, like
Yeah,
all stuff you could have learned from. He's like, I didn't fucking get rid of them. They're
yeah,
just not in
yeah.
here anymore.
He's like, yeah,
Settle down.
I might have destroyed like his
Lego
figures and
set.
like Lego set, but I didn't destroy the books.
Yeah.
Uh, and like he has his men step out, and this is when we get like that funny conversation we were talking about, where like he's asking for help from his mom. He's like, "Mom, please support me." Like, oh, like these guys hate me. These guys like don't want me to. And like she's like, "Well, yeah, they're right. You're dumb."
Yeah.
Like
So
I
what's there to like about you,
yeah,
honestly?
and she definitely had like she had a few digs at him. The one was like, "I had hoped that you were like just going to be quiet and learn from these like more established, more experienced men like myself, your grandfather, like Otto, and like do nothing and like to be like half the king your father was." And they got to jab at him. He's like, oh, like you only expected me to be half the king my dad was?
Yeah.
Like you expect me to be better? Like that's a jab at him. I think he's like, oh, like watch what you say. And she's like, oh, what are you gonna do? Hang me like the rats? Like she's at this point where she doesn't care.
Yeah. And she has all of the mistakes that he's done ready to throw at him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think at this point, like she knows that Viserys never picked him, so she's like, I was wrong the whole time. You are like all the thoughts we had about you in the beginning were true. Like all like the blindness I had, like your wrongdoings is now gone. Like
Mhm.
I like, and then like he has like he's like, oh, like what would you have me do? And she does all we need you to do, nothing,
Yeah.
which is definitely a big blow to him because he's like, oh, like literally all you want me to do is just do nothing.
Yeah. Like I'm the king, and you're telling me
Yeah,
that I'm literally you guys for this to be successful. You don't want me to do anything like that.
yep,
That sucks. That sucks to
yeah.
hear.
Like from your mom, like it's like, oh, I'm the like He's like, yeah. He's like, oh, like, well, they should listen to me. I'm the king. She's like, what does being the king gave you wisdom for? Like, you don't put the crown on and just
Yeah,
get all this wisdom. Like, it's not the Avatar where you just
and
learn
like,
all the experiences of the past Avatar.
she's like, "What would you have to say, honestly, Aegon?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I have ideas."
Go here.
Yeah, but no, I'm like that. That was tough to watch too. It was like because like you kind of feel for him. They really are showing like they showed it like in the I want to say it was the first episode, like when he was like pushing for Jaehaerys, like he knows and has recognized that he wasn't prepped for this at all by his father. Like his father did not plan for
Yeah.
him to be here, didn't like prepare him, didn't do anything for this. So he knows he's lost and like was trying to fix that right to him by like prepping his son. But like in his mind, he knows he's like not in the best, like not ready for this and not like the I guess like the perfect suit for it. But like he's like, I'm in this. I'm gonna try. He's trying to in his own extent. But like then to like immediately have someone be like, literally, you like we didn't expect you to get good. We
Yeah.
didn't expect you to become this great king. We just want you to keep your mouth shut
Yep.
and let us do everything and just be the name and face. And like that blows.
Yeah.
So
Which like
that
I
means
yeah.
no one in your council respects you. None of them had any hopes of you getting better at this. Like it's just a mess.
Well, it's like because even like when he leaves, like they all just keep talking like it doesn't matter. Like it didn't
Yeah,
matter whether he was there or not. And
yeah,
like I do feel bad for him, but like it's like all right, like if you really wanted to be a better king, you could have kept those books in your room. You could have read them. You could have
yeah,
went to like your grandfather, like Otto, and your mother, and like the maester and stuff like that, and be like, hey, like help me learn, help me figure these things
yeah.
out. And like we get it
Or
from like
don't.
him not being able to speak like High Valyrian to Aemon, like he never cared about learning. He just wanted to do what he wanted
Yeah.
to do. Like
I mean, look at Eamon. Eamon looks like he'd be a perfect. I mean, I don't know about perfect king, but like he's been studying. He's been doing the side work. Been like checking maps, looking
yeah,
at rotations. Like he is doing all the work that a king or like at least a head of a military should be
yes,
doing. Like he didn't like he went through the same upbringing as Aegon did, but instead of being an alcoholic like rapist,
yeah,
he actually was like honing his skill with
learning,
the
yeah.
sword and learning everything. Yeah, like that's you have sympathy for him, but like at the same time, it's like you goofed off
You're
when
ignorant.
you like yeah you're ignorant when you're younger, and now you're ignorant and like you realize that like you bit off way more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Like he really should not be doing this stuff.
And like it's like you had the chance like after you became king to like fix those things, and then like we saw like he went, he gave in to like his desires and went to the pleasure house with like his like new Kingsguard, which like he shouldn't have like promoted them to that either way. He should have went to Cole and be like, hey, find good knights and promote them to
Mm-hmm.
Kingsguard so we can fill this out. Like he shouldn't have just promoted three dudes that just didn't know what they're doing. But like we see it even more like when he goes to the pleasure house, it's like all right, like yeah, if you wanted to actually try and improve yourself, you wouldn't have done that. Like
Yeah,
whatever. Um, but then we go
and
to
then
the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say then I'm pretty sure soon after that he like gets pissed off. Like he's like fuck, like my mom just schooled me. Doesn't he like suit up?
That's later.
Oh, is it?
We
Damn,
go.
I
We
thought we'd be
first.
able
I
to
mean, that's in like two scenes. But we
okay.
go Cole. We go to the Kristen Cole camp. He tells Gwen he's like it's pure daylight. And he's like, oh Gwen, we're gonna go ride the battle. He goes, wait,
Oh
it's
yeah.
daylight. Yeah, like you remember last time that happened. He goes, ah, don't worry. He goes, are you afraid? He goes, no, I'm even like it's worse. I'm
Worse, I'm
rational.
rational. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so we get that Rhaenyra finally returns to her council. She walks in. They're all in the middle of an argument. Jace gets very upset. Her like, "Where have you been? We've been doing all this for the whole time, and what have you been doing?" And then
Mm-hmm.
her answer is like, "Oh, like she needed to know there was no other plan before, so she went to King's Landing." And he's like, "Why? Why would you do that? You could have died."
Yeah, and I spoke with Allison. He's like, you spoke with Allison, like
Yeah,
you could have been caught, you could have been killed. All of this would have been for nothing. Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. Like it was a
yeah.
pretty crazy fucking plan to do.
Well, like, that's right. But like, I think right when they get there, they tell the guy that she was with, because he's a Darkland that we find out, and like, so like his, I think I'm I don't know if his father was the one that we saw get his head chopped off, or we just find
I
out his. I'm pretty sure it's his
did.
dad.
Yeah, because don't they say something like he was loyal to the end? Like
Yeah,
he held his. Yeah,
yeah. So like
I
he's
would, I
definitely
would
hurt
think it's
by
fair to
that.
assume that that's his dad.
Yeah, I would say so. Um, so we get that, and then like she's like I just wanted to find out. like that like piece is over with.
Hmm.
One thing I thought was kind of weird is like we get the slight glimpse of White Worm like peering in. She's not
Yeah.
on the council, but she gets a watch. She doesn't appear at all in the episode at other than that.
Right.
I have to imagine that kind of comes up later on in the season, like
Um.
whether she gets like a full seat at the council, because like we know she's on Rhaenyra's side, but
She
like
is.
why is she like just kind of like peeking in?
I think they wanted to emphasize that um Rhaenyra came back with that from the conversation with Allison, and like her like first and really decree is like some of these people may have taken my like passion for there not to be a war
Oh yeah,
for weakness. And like in the end, like the reason the White Worm wanted to join with Rhaenyra is like I've seen what the High Towers are willing to do, and I don't see like we're almost getting kind of like a Danny moment where it's like this isn't you don't, but like at the same time
I
she
think this
needs
is
to be
different
this
though.
woman. But obviously, like I'm Rhaenyra's is much more like justifiable. This isn't like the same kind of to that level. But I think what the reason they showed the White Worm was like she sees Rhaenyra as this person of pursuing peace without having to use Dragonfire for
Yeah.
war, and she's peering at the like this moment where Rhaenyra is like, nah, like I think I gotta actually do it this time.
Yeah, maybe. Which is cool. Like a cool quote is like, oh, like they take my caution for weakness. I'm gonna show them
Yeah,
like they made a mistake for that. Which I'm glad like they kind of just like Jason out. They're all like, no, you can't do that. You're the queen. Like if you die, we're
yeah,
screwed. And then Jason's like, I'll go. And like his Rhaenyra just chuckles it off. He's like, no, you're not going. Like
yeah.
no,
Dude,
no, no.
this man's not allowed to do anything. Like,
But like
Jace, please let me go. No, shut up. You're not going anywhere.
another point, like it sucks that like Damon's not there because like if they were like because like I mean Rhaenyra or Rhaenys ends up stepping up like oh like I'll go. But if they were able to say send Rhaenys and Daemon with their
Yeah,
dragons, everything's done. It's done.
yeah,
Over. But I did like that Rhaenys kind of just stepped up. Then we get Aegon in his room, and I mean really he just I wrote it down as Aegon is a cat, uh, parentheses pussy, because he just knocks a little flagon over like a cat would off the table, and then gets
yeah.
upset and storms off. But then we get Rhaenyra and Jace in this room right in front of a dragon head, which I forget. I've heard so many different theories on which dragon it is, but I think it's like Baelor the Dread.
Balerion the Dread. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main theory is it's that one.
So that
Uh,
dragon head, you would assume, has gotten moved because that dragon head skeleton is underneath King's Landing when we were watching Game of
yeah,
Thrones
well, yeah, I think the idea is like it gets moved after this or
after
like
this war.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then she's like, "Oh, I should have told you this a long time ago with you being the heir," and she just tells him the Song of Ice and Fire. I don't think there's really
Hmm.
anything
No,
beyond that.
we all know about the Song of Ice and
Yeah,
Fire. There's not much more to dissect about
it kind
that.
of thinks she doesn't have the dagger to show him, but I think like she's also now like buying into it a little bit more. But
Hmm.
also like as like the audio's going off, where like she's telling him this, we get the scenes of Meleys and Rhaenys is like going up to her, like forehead on the dragon, like very
Hmm.
emotional, like a clear bond from like 40 plus years of like riding and battles, which she says we're off the battle again, old girl. Like there's apparently been like 80 years of
So
peace.
cute.
So like how many battles have they been in? I'm
Yeah.
assuming they're kind of like smaller battles, kind of like Damon was in at like the triarchy or whatever.
Yeah, I would assume there hasn't been many like dragon on dragon battles, and more so
Yeah,
just using the dragons in a human
yeah,
war, which probably got very little
yeah.
fight back out of.
Because I think like
Ow.
before Rhaenys, I don't think Meleys had many riders. Like I think she had one early on, if that, and then none
Yeah,
for a while, and then for some reason Rhaenys was able to make a bond with her.
yeah.
But then we get Aegon's drunken fucking meeting with Sunfire, who I feel so bad for. Like
Sunfire was so
Sunfire like
cute.
boops him like a dog. Like, oh,
Yeah,
like what's up, buddy? And like Aegon's like, yeah, what's up?
he's
And
smiling like petting him.
you're just like, oh, this is bad. Like he's going up against an actual like good opponent, good dragon. Like Sunfire doesn't deserve this.
Mm-mm.
Uh, but then they both fly off, and then we go into the battle, which we basically will end it here. Um, I mean, basically, it's Meleese gets there first, burns a bunch of the men.
Yeah.
Then Sunfire shows up. So like, as soon as Meleese shows up, Cole's like, all right, like shoot the signal arrows. And you're gone. Sorry about that, guys. He's coming right back.
Yep. We're
All
back.
right. So
All right. Sunfire shows up.
Cole, yeah. Well, first Meleese shows up, and then Cole's like, all
Mhm.
right, shoot your signal arrows. And then we hear like horns blowing like to each other, like further distance. And then as it finally gets to Vagar and Aemon, which I think all of us kind of guessed that's what was like what those signal arrows were for,
Right.
and the whole plan was. He sees Sunfire ride over, and like Vagar's clearly ready to go by like the horns, and he's like I think he's like fucking idiot, like my idiot brother's coming over to do this, like why is he doing this? He's like
Yeah.
Vagar, wait, we'll just let him go die, and we'll get this.
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Is like when he said wait Vagar, it's like is he doing that because he wants Aegon to get fucked up, or is he doing because like I can do this? I can come up with like a fuck like coming in while a dragon fight's already going on. I will have even more advantage with Vagar, or
I
is
think
it
it's more.
like
I think it's more that one. I don't think it's like he purposely wants Aegon to die. I think he just thinks it's like, oh, like it'll be easier for us to do a surprise attack if I give him like an extra 30 seconds.
yeah, I agree.
Um, but it's like that happens. Sunfire gets there. He pulls out a Dracarys way too early. Which also like Aegon can't speak High Valyrian, so he can't speak High Valyrian to his dragon.
Mm-hmm.
It was easier to teach Sunfire English than it was to teach him High Valyrian,
So
which is
that was
hilarious to me.
that was
Because
one
like
of the crazy things I saw too. Is like every dragon rider learns learns the language to speak to the dragons, and he was like Sunfire literally learned English to work with Aegon.
yep,
Like that is fucking insane.
just Aegon's so dumb because he's like let's go. Wait, slow down,
Yeah.
faster. Like, but he uses Dracarys way too early. Like it's not like Rhaenys just
Yeah,
kind of like
just blinds
sidesteps it,
himself.
and then like Meleys doesn't even have to use Dragonfire. She just rips
Mm.
him apart, and then like he falls down. Bailey catches himself. Then getting like a little fight again. Um, you see. Oh wait, but when they get in the fight, Gwen asks like, "Oh, was this your plan to have like the king come?" And Cole's like,
Yeah.
"No, what the hell is going on? Like, didn't plan for this." But he
Yeah,
gets
he's
his
like, "Where
men.
are you,
Yeah.
Aemon?"
He sends more signal arrows up, but then like he like riles up the troops. He's like, "All right, go back out there. Don't hide in these trees.
Yeah.
Your king's coming to fight. Go out there." Um,
The
but
Blessed Seven is on our side, like
yeah,
because the king's with you. Like the whole great speech. Like that
yeah,
was a cool. That is the best thing you could do in that moment. Is like, fuck, like
yeah.
our
Oh yeah,
idiot king's here, but like at least it's like that'll rile up the
yeah.
troops.
But then you finally get Vagar finally comes over and he's massive. Almost everyone on the battlefield just stops what they're doing and just looks up.
Hmm.
Um, and like as he's going there, it's so funny because Aegon's like, "Yes, I'm saved. Like thank the gods."
Hmm.
And then Aemon goes Dracarys, and he's like, "Ah."
He's like, no, yeah.
And
I mean, it
then
was a crazy move. Like he was locked, or Sunfire and Aegon and Rhaenys and Meleys were like they're locked up, kind of like clawing and biting at each other. And then yeah, Vagar come just this absolute. I'm trying to think of the plane that just is just like the carrier plane, like just an absolute unit
B2
coming
bomber.
through. Yeah, an absolute unit coming through, and yeah, he gets all excited, like finally, like we're gonna win this thing, and then just takes a full Dracarys. Like Vagar's like, all right, you know what? Let me just take them both out. Like he got
Well,
them locked up. I don't care who I hit here.
well, like
And
that's where
Dracarys is
I think like you said earlier, I don't think he was letting Aegon go to get killed, but like I think in this moment he's like he kind of is thinking like, he's like, oh, if I can take both of them out, that's better.
yeah,
Because I
like
think
two birds.
he does hold resentment for his brother. He does think he would do better,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think he's upset that he's possibly going to hurt his brother and kill his brother in this moment.
No,
But
no,
then
definitely not.
this is the end of that Aegon and Sunfire for the fight. They fall. Sunfire's like kind of alive during this, and
Mm-hmm.
like it lands. It looks like a jet went down and explodes.
Yeah.
And like I mean like we'll like at the end we'll talk about what I guess comes out of this. But then Rhaenys flies away, turns back saying attack Meleys. Like oh like get back in there. We're going back in. Meleys and
Mm-hmm.
Vhagar fight it out, and Meleys like to me looked like she was winning. Like was
She did. She
clawing at
definitely
Vhagar.
was.
They were like going back and forth with like dragon breath. Um, like puts Vhagar like makes Vhagar hit the ground, and I thought it was like all like the interaction between like Maylis and Rhaenys were like I thought were like cute. Like
Mhm.
it's almost like after this like Maylis like looks back at like Rhaenys and is like, "Aren't you proud of me? Like look what I did.
Yeah.
I took that big dragon down."
Yeah.
And then like they're flying around, they do like a little like turn back, and Rhaenys is like kind of like looking like where's Vhagar? Like like are they down there? Like doesn't find them and is kind of like
She,
scared.
and she flies over the castle, and
Yeah,
then
sneak attack. Yep, which is just so messed up. But
how
like
the hell can you sneak attack with a fucking giant dragon like that
because
too?
they
Like
were all, I mean, like, in my
it was
mind,
they're
Rhaenys
completely
Rhaenys
behind
should
the
have
castle.
expected it. Like Rhaenys should have been like, oh, because like, it was like the part of the castle by the cliffside, so there's a
Yeah.
ton of room there. But it's like you should expect that and fly higher. It was my thought.
Yeah. Like
Like
if you're
fly
gonna say
higher to the
you
point
don't
where like you can't get like attacked that easily.
you don't see this dragon anywhere, let's not like cut a hard corner behind a giant
Yeah,
cliff where they
yeah,
could be hiding
yep,
from behind. Yeah. And I agree.
yeah.
That was a rough move, but
But then like I mean, it's just a quick Vhagar puts like bites over like like the
sorry.
um throat of like Melees. And in
Mhm.
this moment, like you kind of tell like they're done. Mace once again like looks back and it's almost like it's almost like the dragon's like being like, I'm sorry, mom. Like I'm sorry that we're
Yeah, it's
going
like
down.
and like saying goodbye.
Yeah. So that we get that.
It's definitely sad.
Yeah. They fall to their death, which I found out in the books. Rhaenys' birthday is the seventh day of the seventh month. So she died on the
On
episode
the
that
air
was
date.
released on the yeah. That's so. They definitely
Real
did that on
fucked up.
purpose, which is so messed. I mean, it's a cool little Easter egg, but that sucks. Because she was
I
such a
heard
cool
that
character
too.
this whole time. She was
Yeah,
great,
she really has been one of the cool ones.
and like
Sick
even like
name, the queen that never was.
watching all of her interviews, like she seems so into it and all this time. And I think I saw
Mhm.
one from like the beginning, like the premiere, and someone was like, "Oh, like I'll see you next year." She's like, "Ooh, will ya?"
Mhm.
Like almost hinting that she died this season, but yeah, I mean they fall to their deaths. I mean she gets crushed. She just accepts it. Sad scene.
Uh huh.
But then I
Um.
mean Cole had
Okay.
been knocked out by Vagar's fall, but then we get him waking up. He's like walking to Aegon's landing spot, and he finds Aemon just walking up there with his sword out, which I don't know why his sword's out,
Yeah,
but then
it looked like
he's
he was
sheathing it.
already sheathing it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because at the first watch I thought he was bringing it out to kill Aegon, but then
so
second
did
watch
I.
I was like no, he's definitely he's sheathing it because he's just putting it away.
Mhm.
Gets there and then like he like bends down, grabs like the cat's paw dagger, and I've seen so many people like say like oh like does he see like the Song of Ice and Fire in this? I was like when we see him pick it up, it's black.
It's black, right?
Like
But
he
my only thing is Vagar just burned the shit out of them, and Dragon Fire is so strong. Like I could see there being a remnants of the words on it still, but like you're right, it wasn't like it was like when they did it the first time. They had it over the fire till the
and
blade
we
was
saw him
completely
pick it
red.
up. Like it wasn't like he was sitting there previously with it.
Yeah,
Unless like you're gonna tell me like the other side of the dagger was bright red and he saw some of it, but like well the side we saw was pitch black.
yeah, yeah. We don't know.
But then like Cole's like where's Aegon and he just like points a dagger like over there. He's like oh he's right there.
Hmm.
Because like, at first I did think like Aemon was walking up to kill him, but that would have been like very obvious. Like, oh, if he died by stab wound, like it's like there was no guys over there, so like clearly it was you.
Yeah. Um.
So I mean that's basically the end of the episode, I think.
Yeah. Great episode. This next one going forward, I didn't look at any of the previews for the next episode, but like,
Oh, Damon's rebuilding Harrenhal. He's got an axe out. He's chopping wood just to rebuild Harrenhal, which is I think hilarious. He's not giving a shit what's going on otherwise.
yeah, he just completely isolated. But no, I mean overall, great episode. We got a lot of like a lot of character development with Aegon again. Sorry, again with like how much shit he's taking constantly from his like shit and just disrespect he's been taking, and like you're seeing what it's building him into, like just like especially I guess a drunk driving a fucking dragon, not a great move. But moral story, it sucks to see Sunfire get the shit kicked out of her like that. Like that, there's him actually. I think it's a male dragon, but like such a beautiful looking dragon. Was
Yeah.
like cute as hell. Like literally, like you said, like dog nose touched
Well, it's like he
Aegon.
changed like the sigil of his like of like the tar like he changed the sigil for like his like house or whatever like the Targaryen whatever to be gold for Sunfire. Like
Yeah.
that's why he did it that way. And like yeah, like you said, like gold scale is supposed to be like a beautiful dragon, and like it made
Hmm.
me think like more like why are these dudes just not just riding the dragon, especially like Sunfire. Like I understand Vagar's like older, huge dragon. You really can't just ride it around all the time. But, like if you're the king, why not just taking Jord rides with like Sunfire like
Oh
all the
yeah, I
time?
would be
Like
I'd be riding dragons constantly. Like if
yeah,
I had a
it's
dragon to ride
like
on, like
and I think I saw like in the books like the original owner of Maylease and like one of like the next like one of like the further like but like, at the same time there's another rider of Vagar. They used to like ride their dragons, Maylease and
oh,
Vagar
it was
around. It
it
was
was
like
the
it was
husband and wife combination that they were the mother and father of Viserys, Daemon, and the third boy.
oh okay I thought yeah
It
but
was
like
their parents. The dad rode Vagar and the mom rode
yeah but
Meleys.
like it was like, yeah like they used to just ride the dragons around the castle so it's like oh like these like dragons grew up kind of like close. But like, it's like at
Yeah.
the same time, like, it's like I don't as much as like these dragons did that, like I don't think they're caring about that much. I mean, we did say like Cyrax cared about Arax because like it was technically her child, but like that's different
Hmm.
compared to like a Meleys and Vagar. Like
Yeah, just being like
yeah,
riding next to each
yeah,
other. But like they saw a lot of wars together too. Like it's hard because like we haven't seen dragons like work together all that well yet.
yeah.
Like we've
I
seen
mean,
like
other than
Sea
Game of
Smoke
Thrones,
and
like we saw a
Caraxes.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And Damon's War, we saw Caraxes and Sea Smoke work together a little
Yep,
bit. But like yeah, like I'm curious what the relation of the dragons
yeah.
are when like how they like especially when there's a war of dragons, like how can they tell who's on their side at all? Like
Well, like, that's a weird thing. It's like I like you would think like you would hope that like they listen to like the Dragon Rider enough, where like the Dragon Rider will know which dragons are on what side,
right.
and will like kind of point them in the right direction. But this at the same time, like we've seen Aemon not have that much handle on Vagar. Like
Yeah.
sometimes they just kind of do what they want.
Yeah, well, once I mean, Vagar's like, dude, like I'm getting fire blown at me. I'm not fucking listening to this
Yeah.
dumb little kid anymore. But yeah, no,
Uh,
like I said, overall, great episode. Can't wait to learn more about these dragons and like see how they handle like literally fighting. Like
yeah.
it's gonna be crazy. I don't know how much. I just don't know. With this season already getting a third season, I don't know like that. This could be one of the main fights of the season.
I think it probably is. I mean, we have 4 episodes left because I think it's an 8 episode season. Like I don't think we really get another dragon on dragon fight until maybe the season finale,
Yeah,
if that.
yeah, but I think this is gonna be like a 2v1. This might be the dragon fight of the
Yeah.
season, which I'm happy with. It was a great watch.
Like I guess like we can talk about like so like what are your thoughts on like is Aegon dead? Is Sunfire dead?
Um,
I think they should be, based on what we've seen. At least
but
Sunfire should be dead.
based on yeah,
Cause
and
like there's a big explosion. How is Sunfire alive? There's a big explosion.
so
Like
there's a couple things with that though. So if you notice the way the dragons fell, Sunfire was coming down back first and then flipped before she
yeah.
landed or he landed, which would make it more plausible for Aegon to stay alive on that. Meleys was
Well, it's
already
like
dead. She plummeted down back first, which I think is a clear Rhaenys is dumb.
I'm
I
more
think
fine with
Aegon may have
believing.
survived it.
Yeah, I'm more fine with believing Aegon survived, but like I don't think Sunfire should have survived. Because we saw like the big explosion, like Sunfire
Yeah,
and Meleys both explode upon hitting the ground. Like if that
yeah,
happens, like it's like I said, like, it's like a jet like crashing and exploding. Like there's no
yeah.
jet crash that explodes that the jet's like, oh yeah, it's fine.
I hear you.
Not
Yeah, I
that
don't
like
know
it
about Sunfire, but
not that it really would matter either way, but like I don't. I think I don't want these dragons to die, but like it would annoy me kind of. If they're like, oh well, yeah, it's Sunfire's still alive. Like
not
Meleys
only
died for
that,
nothing because Sunfire's fine.
Sunfire better be like fucked up
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
If you're
at
gonna have
least, yeah,
Sunfire alive, like he shouldn't be able to fly too
yeah,
well. Like he was plummeting and his wings were being like
yeah.
scorched.
There is one preview for the next episode that I'm not gonna say, but it really pissed me off. And I think we get it early on in the episode, but it's basically it's upsetting, and
Okay.
it looks like it's gonna be a dumb move for Team Green, but that's all I'm gonna.
Mm. All right. Well,
There you go.
for next week's episode or for this Sunday's episode, I will be back home, so I'll be in my normal setting. We'll try to pump it out earlier. This one might come out a little late this week. I mean, it probably is.
I'll put it out. I'll schedule it for tomorrow.
Okay, so it's gonna be released Friday. Like I said, we're gonna try and get the episodes out sooner. If we can cut some editing,
Yeah.
we can get it out. So, but
But
we should be able to record next week's episode on Monday, and we'll try to get it out to you as early in the week as you can.
and with it being this late, we won't have any clips this week. But please remember to like the video, subscribe, follow us on
Mm-hmm.
Spotify, whatever you're listening on. If you're listening on Spotify, go follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go subscribe or follow on Spotify. Go follow us on our socials.
Yeah,
We're
where we
most of them
post
all
all
at
of our clips.
yeah, most of all our socials are Bell Ringers Pod with Instagram, Twitter, and
TikTok.
TikTok. But go follow over there. Leave a comment. We will have, like I said, this is a weird week. We'll have more clips coming out in the future. Please
Mm-hmm.
leave any clips or comments. If we find out that we get enough people kind of talking about this as the seasons go forward, we'll probably end up trying to have like a comment episode or a viewer kind of questions episode.
Mm-hmm.
So any
But
feedback is welcomed.
yeah, the more we can do is with your guys' participation. So if you guys show us some love, we'll try to add more stuff to
Yep.
our catalog.
Yeah.
All right.
See everyone next week.
See y'all next week.
Go Team Black.